Hi, I'm Malcolm.
And I'm Rachel. We're two Canadians living on our 39-foot mainship trawler, living an adventure of a lifetime. We invite you to follow along as we travel 6,000 miles through Canadian and U.S. waterways around America's Great Loop. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's the night before we're crossing back from the Bahamas to the United States. And we've been waiting here for, I think, about 9 days.
Yeah, too long.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
It's a beautiful place to be stuck. Don't get us wrong. The water's gorgeous. The temperature is perfect. But we do need to keep moving. And the weather has just been holding us back. So we're really hoping that tomorrow the forecast holds true and we get those flat seas and calm winds and we can get across. So we're being a little ambitious. We're going to try and get ourselves to Fort Pierce, which is a little further north. But, we'll see how it goes. If the water's a little lumpy, maybe we'll divert to Lake Worth.
And the forecast that we saw is showing up to 3 knots in the Gulf Stream. So we're hoping that gives us a big push all the way to Fort Pierce.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
We finally figured out how to see what the current forecasts were for the Gulf Stream. Not that we'll ever need to use it again, but it's they forecast it to be 3 knots going north, which just happens to be the way we're going. So hopefully we can take advantage of that.
So we're planning to leave just before sunrise, and we'll try to show you that as we go along, and then we'll show you our progress as we're progressing along the Gulf Stream and back towards Florida.
Yep, and then of course once we hit Florida, we need to check in. So we'll do the CBP row map as well. Maybe we can give them a little details of how that works. We can't record that, but we can certainly walk you through what that takes as well.
All right, have a good night. We just left West End about an hour and a half ago, and we'll be crossing over to the United States today. The conditions are actually, I would say, worse than what were forecast, and you can see that we're rocking and rolling out here a little bit, and I haven't been able to walk around the boat much until about now. The waves, I would say, are 3 feet to 4 feet. And we just hit the Gulf Stream, so it smooths out a little bit in the Gulf Stream, and that's the only reason why I'm out here and able to take an image. Before, we had secured most things in the boat, but even our table fell over at one point because we were taking a lot of waves on the beam. So we actually changed course and headed into the waves a little bit more, so that we're taking them a little bit on the nose. And we'll be doing that actually as we go along today. So hopefully things will stay relatively smooth for most of the journey. The Gulf Stream is a very wide part of this trip, and right now the conditions are much, much better than what they were for the first hour of our trip. So we did hear other boaters on the radio saying pretty much the same thing as what we're experiencing. And there's been a lot of people waiting to cross over the last week, and this is probably the best it will be for the next little while. So we have to take this opportunity. So the sun is just coming up, and we're making progress. Not feeling the best, but we'll survive. And hope you're having a great day. We're beginning to see the shoreline of Florida now, and we can see a few buildings. So we're definitely more than halfway now, and I started to have service on my cell phone. I had SOS service only. So soon we'll be within cell phone range, and we'll start to see more of the skyline as we approach Lake Worth. really close now to the Lake Worth Inlet, about 15 minutes away, and we notice a very large ship coming out the inlet, so hopefully he'll be clear by the time we actually get there. And the waters are starting to calm a little bit, but it's been a pretty rocky ride the whole time. Well, we've arrived at our destination for today, which is North Palm Beach in Lake Worth area. And this is where we staged to go to the Bahamas, so it's kind of fitting that we come back here. We went 61 nautical miles in just over 8 hours, and the conditions were a little bumpier than they were on the way out, and we don't have stabilizers, so it was a bit rocking and rolling, a little bit on the beam. So we did a bit of crabbing, and then eventually we got into the Gulf Stream, and it was a little smoother there, but Malcolm had to do a lot of work driving the boat. So we're here now. We're excited to be back in the United States and carrying along the Great Loop journey. So here we are. How did you find that journey today?
The journey today was surprisingly rough. On the way out, when we were there, it was pretty good. You're going to see a boat zip by us here now.
Oh, no, it's going the other way.
Going the other way.
Wow, really close.
Yeah. Anyway, so obviously wake is not an issue here for some people.
Yep.
So you're going to watch this
be,
rock and roll. Anyway, so we we started nice and early. So we started when it was dark. It was around 6 a.m. when we got sort of into the actual, or out of the inlet, out of the marina. Yeah,
we were up a lot before that, just getting ready. But 6 o'clock is when we pushed off, I think.
Yeah, and the actual winds were down, which was good. The challenge we had really was more around the waves, and the waves started out pretty rocky in the beginning. They said they were going to be 1s and 2s as far as 1 and 2 feet. I think when we were out there, they were 3s.
3s and some 4s.
3s and 4s, and sometimes I think a 5's crept in there.
Yeah.
And they were on the beam, which made it quite uncomfortable.
Which was interesting because the forecast said from the east.
Yeah.
And they were more from the south.
So you can never really trust the forecast. It's really whatever gets out there. They're more, suggestions.
Most, you always look for at least 3 forecasts to be consistent.
Yeah,
and they were. So obviously the weather didn't listen to what they ordered.
I think at the end of the day, what's happening this year, and we've heard from many, many people, is the weather is just bizarre. Normally you get these long stretches and you get calm and glass-like conditions every once in a while. And here, windows close, weather windows. You think they're open, you think it's going to be a good day, and they just close, and they don't open up again for another 7 days.
Or more.
Or more, actually, yeah. So that was the biggest challenge, really, was just getting a good weather window that we're comfortable with. Some people would go when it's much worse.
And have done, we know people who have.
Yeah, but as many of you know, we're pleasure boaters first. Yeah. And so it was interesting. I think we're both very glad that crossing is over.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back on the mainland.
And, it was a great time in the Bahamas. It's a beautiful little country, place I'd never been, and to see it by water is just so unique because there's so many places where there are no people.
And you can go to an anchorage and just swim.
Yeah, right off the back of your boat, and you're in coral. So
lovely, lovely time there.
It really was. Yeah. It was a really nice time. So even though the crossing was a little hairy, we made it. Stay Cool did great. We have got ourselves ready to. We've got an early departure tomorrow. We're going to head out, but yeah, it's a relief. These big crossings are always a relief when they're done.
It's a bit stressful when you're
Yeah.
responsible for the boat and the people and
Yeah, and I think
everything.
those that have watched for a while, you know, we get grab bags, ditch bags, we do float plans, we get everything organized so that, you know, you what is it? You plan for the worst and hope for the best, and that's kind of what we do. So, yeah, I mean, the surprise for us today, I don't know if you remember, but within the first hour, our big table fell over.
Yeah, I didn't actually. I did it. I did take a picture of that. I
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were rocking and rolling so much that the table that's really heavy, the coffee table thing, it actually fell right over. Your
Yeah,
computer was on it.
I
And
know.
everything. Yeah.
And there's no casualties. Everything survived. But it was a real eye opener as to this is actually a little wavier than we
Yeah.
thought.
So we actually left the table lying down so we didn't do it again.
Yeah, and I think it was a good call because it smoothed out a little bit
Yeah.
in the middle for quite a while.
Yeah.
And when I say smooth, it was still 2s and 3s.
But I was pretty green the whole time, and I thought I was pretty good at things like that. But I guess not. I guess I just can't handle that. You need stabilizers, or you need a really big boat, or
I
something.
think it's a big boat, but
Yeah.
but yeah, one of us was fine. So it was
That's good.
yeah. And I'm the one, honestly, that you know when you go on fishing trips out into the Pacific, I'm the one that gets green. But it
Maybe that's because
seems
someone else is driving.
maybe it is,
Yeah.
but maybe it's the same thing in a
Yeah.
car. I guess if you're driving a car, you don't often get
Maybe.
sick. So and when you're hanging on for dear life, you don't get sick either. So maybe that was something to do with it.
Anyway, I think that sums up our trip today. We're pretty happy to be here, and we can
Yeah.
hopefully have a good sleep tonight and a much easier voyage tomorrow along the Intercoastal Waterway. So
Yeah.
we'll take you along for the ride.
Yeah, welcome aboard for those that watch and like and subscribe. And there's lots more to come.
Thanks for watching.